The Longbox Crusade presents
Action Film Face-Off.
This episode, it's 2002 versus 2000.
Two 2000s films enter.
One 2000 film leaves.
2 men enter, 1 man leaves. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, then go out and get what you're worth. But you got to be willing to take the hits.
Welcome back to Action Film Face-Off. This is a show where 2 random years are selected. My brother brings an action film from one random year. I bring one from the other random year. Those 2 films will do battle using a variety of criteria. A champion will be crowned by the end of this episode. I'm Jared Albrecht, the Death Probe. My co-host is my brother Jason, the Weasel Skull. We're both military combat vets who take our action seriously, but not too seriously, so let's have some fun. I remember my military training in gun fu, Jason, but what kind of episode do we have here? For me, this is a regular. I'd seen both of these before. Jason?
Yeah, for me as well. I'd seen both before, although with both, it'd been a minute, so there were some things I'd forgotten.
Yeah. Well, standard episode. That's interesting.
Yes, indeed. We are going to score each of today's films on a scale of 1 through 10 in 5 categories. What are those categories, you ask? Well, they are the story, the overall spectacle, the best action scene, the hero, and the villain. It will be in order, just not in that order. And then there will be the deduction round where up to 10 points can be subtracted from the film's total for whatever we determine is the low point of the movie.
Thank you, Jason. Today we are joined by a sniper. It is our quarterly sniper. Sniper has just 1 point to give in each category, so Sniper can sway the scoring a total of 5 points. And I think that really came into play. Was it last episode? I think Rick made all the difference. I think he was on last one.
Yeah, he swayed it.
Let's see how the swaying goes. Let's meet our sniper. Like I said, it is the quarterly sniper. It is captivating Kathy Bright, the MVP, a.k.a. Short Box.
MVP. Vin Diesel's going to win.
What would give you that impression?
All right, Kathy, we always have a question for the sniper, which I have to edit down tremendously because you take a long time to answer it. But I've decided, I think I have a succinct question for you for this episode.
You do not.
Let's fingers crossed.
All right. Tonight we see Christian Bale, and tonight we see Vin Diesel. So all I want to know from you is, what's your favorite Christian Bale movie, and what's your favorite Vin Diesel movie? Which Fast and the Furious movie are you going to pick for Vin Diesel?
I'm probably going to go with Fast and Furious 2009, I think is what's called. Fast and Furious 4.
Okay.
And my favorite Christian Bale.
Rain of Fire, Jared. It's Rain of Fire.
Oh, that is underrated as heck, man. That movie is fun.
The Machinist.
I haven't seen it. That's the one where we got real skinny.
Yes. It's an odd movie, but I really did like that movie. Oddly enough, it comes out 2 years after Equilibrium. I didn't realize that.
Okay. We'll go with The Machinist. Well, thank you for that succinct post-edited answer, Kathy.
Absolutely. Anything for you.
Before our 2 films enter the Videodome arena, which I'm told has spikes on it, we are thrilled to kick off this episode with special shout-outs to our Crusaders Club members. These are the fine folks who have joined the Crusade. They enjoy early access to special Longbox episodes. They get priority seating to be guests on shows. So much more. These are the folks that are reaping the benefits and giving some much appreciated support to the show.
Alan W. Wright.
Angelica Wolf.
Oh.
Auburn Elvis.
Bill Beer.
Braxton Underwood.
Clinton Robeson.
Captain Entropy.
Clark Westfield.
Dave Collins. You know him as the Battle Wagon.
Battle Wagon.
Ezra Gallo.
Gary V.
Gene Hendricks.
Gerald Green.
Heinz K.
My brother, Jason Keene.
Also your brother, Jason Lady.
Jeff Poyer.
Jeremy L.
Jim Jarman. I hope you like Jim Jarman too.
Jim Mill.
Joe Thomas, a.k.a. Joe November.
John Watson.
Josh Strickland.
Candace Ward.
This gal, captivating Kathy Bright, the MVP.
Whoop whoop. Matt and Lizzie Passo.
Mark Ross.
Maxwell Traver.
Miranda W.
P.D. Devons.
Paul Hicks.
Rick from Jeff and Rick Present.
Rob Morgan.
Samantha Maney.
Sean Urbanski.
Spidey 67.
Spreadsheet still counting on you.
Steve Cronin.
Tim Price.
Tony Pennington.
And Toronto Cop.
We love you, Derek. If we miss anyone on our list, we apologize. Please keep in mind we record these episodes well in advance of release, so if you're a recent addition, we'll add you soon. No worries, if we did miss you, just send your hate-filled emails to contact@longboxcrusade.com and Pat will get it all straightened out. If you're asking yourself, how do I get in on this? How do I get my name shouted out and all this other cool stuff? You go to patreon.com/longboxcrusade, and for as little as $1 measly a month, you get access to the amazing world of Crusaders Club. And we're dropping like at least 8 things a month, 8 to 10 things a month. And so you divide that by the dollar, it's like, we do the math for you later on in the show, but not at this point. But it's a good deal. Come check it out.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Jared. It's time to have some fun. So put away your equilibrium drugs. We got to have some laughter and some fun and some emotion out here. And it's time to get back to the combat and learn a bit about the film Gladiators About to Battle for your pleasure.
This episode, I was assigned the year of 2002, and I have selected Equilibrium. What year did the randomizer select for you, Jason?
I got 2000 and put into our Videodome arena, Pitch Black.
All right, we got a fine matchup here, folks. Now, it's important to point out this isn't Jared versus Jason. We each had to select from our assigned year. I might like his selection better than mine, vice versa. This is really about us discussing these beloved action films and coming to a consensus on which one is this episode's champion. Let's do a quick round of the room on where we saw it. I had both of these on my Plex. Simple and easy. Jason, how did you watch these films?
I had Pitch Black on Blu-ray, and I had to order Equilibrium from Apple.
Okay. Kathy?
Have Pitch Black on DVD, and Equilibrium I saw on Plex.
Oh, sneaking into the Plex word.
Maybe.
Sneak, I didn't even notice. All right, folks, this is your spoiler warning. If you have not seen 2002's Equilibrium or 2000's Pitch Black and you don't want it spoiled through the conversation, go ahead and pause the podcast here and join us when you are ready, and we will see you on the other side of this musical break provided by Joe November. All right, we are back. Let me jump in with some quick info on 2002's Equilibrium.
The cleric is the final line of defense. If the resistance compromises it, we are doomed.
You cannot do this.
There's nothing we can't do. It's real. Burn it.
Cleric, I can only hope one day to be as uncompromising as you. You're a family man.
Yes, sir, a boy and a girl.
It's the lawful entry. We have a warrant for your wife's arrest.
Remember me.
Welcome to the underground.
Do you know why you came?
Yes.
They trained you your whole life to fight these kind of odds.
What can I do?
I've heard the most disturbing rumor.
Rumor, sir.
A rumor maintaining that one of the cleric is actually attempting to contact the resistance.
Then you know what I'm gonna do now.
Preston, give yourself entirely without incident.
No, not without incident.
cast and crew is as follows. It stars Christian Bale and a bunch of people that he kills. It's directed by Kurt Wimmer. Synopsis goes a little something like this. In the future, the populace takes a daily interval drug that cuts off the highs and lows of human emotions. Everyone is placid and has eliminated war, but what is the price of denying our human emotions? Well, John Preston's about to find out. Preston is a crazy skilled law enforcement killing machine called a cleric who specializes in tracking down sense offenders. Those are people who have stopped taking their dosage, and brings them to justice until the day that Preston himself accidentally misses a dose and begins to feel. And over to our own captivating Kathy Bright, the MVP, a.k.a. Shortbox, for the trivia around this one. What do you got, Kathy?
Most of the filming for this movie was completed in Berlin. They chose Berlin due to its unique mixture of fascist and modern architecture. According to the visual effects supervisor, Tim McGovern, who worked alongside the director Wimmer, the fascist architecture was chosen to make the individual feel small and insignificant, so the government seems more powerful. My second trivia, this is a little outdated. I tried to do a little more research today to get new figures, but apparently Bale's character, John Preston, kills 118 characters in this movie, which makes him responsible for exactly half of the 236 deaths shown on the screen. As of 2009, and I actually looked, and I believe it's still current up to 2021, he continues to hold the third place record for most deaths in a movie caused by one character. Now, most will question, what about John Wick, Kathy? I pulled some numbers for you. 2014's John Wick had 77 kills in the first movie. John Wick 2, 128. John Wick 3, 94. John Wick 4 had 140. So total for the whole franchise, it's 439 kills. So I'm going to give that award to John Wick.
If you give Bale 4 movies, he could kill more people.
I mean, I completely agree. Okay, and my third nugget. This movie is filled with future DC heroes and villains. Christian Bale, Dominic Purcell, who was actually cast as the title role Preston when it seemed that Bale would not be available for this role, William Fichtner, Sean Pertwee, and Angus McFadden later all played in DC Comics-based movies and television shows. Bale and Fichtner both were in the Dark Knight trilogy. I think we all know who Christian Bale played. Fichtner played a bank manager in The Dark Knight. Dominic Purcell played Heatwave in DC's Legend of Tomorrow. Sean Pertwee played Alfred Pennyworth in Gotham. And Angus McFadden played Jor-El in Superman and Lois, the 2021 version. And those are my trivia mentions for Equilibrium.
So now I will give you the rundown on 2000's Pitch Black.
They say most of your brain shuts down in cryosleep, all but the animal side. Guess that's why I'm still awake.
If the man is gone, he's gone. Why should he bother us?
Maybe to take what you got. Maybe to work your nerves.
Is he really that dangerous?
Only around humans.
Zeke!
All you people are so scared of me. But it ain't me you gotta worry about now.
Whatever it is, it got Zeke and it nearly got me. Get it off me!
They seem to stick to darkness. So if we stick to daylight, we should be all right.
A total eclipse. We're gonna lose everybody out here.
starred Vin Diesel and Keith David. It was directed by David Twohy, and the synopsis goes a little something like this. When a transport ship carrying a motley crew of passengers crash lands on a desolate desert planet, it becomes a high-stakes game of survival. One of the passengers is a ruthless murderer on the way to serve out his sentence. Another is the lawman intent on bringing him to justice. When the prisoner escapes in the crash, the sole surviving crew member organizes a manhunt with the lawman to protect the survivors. All is not what it seems, however, and when night falls, it releases creatures from their worst nightmares. Alliances form, heroes become villains, and villains become heroes as they all try to survive the night. Kathy, take away trivia.
My first trivia mention is talk about suffering for your art. Vin Diesel actually did 3/4 of the shoulder dislocation himself. He could actually do the whole move while holding on to a chain, but when he had the cuffs on, he was unable to complete the whole motion. So he just did, that's him doing 3/4 of that move in that actual scene. And Cole Hauser's character, John's, in the scene where he's shooting up in his eyeball, that is actually, here's his tear duct that, I mean, I'm sure it wasn't a needle that really went in there, but it was his tear duct getting whatever metal pushed into it. Because he asked someone on the set, what's the most disgusting place that he's ever heard of anybody shooting up? It was the eyelid, the tear duct. Yeah, the tear duct. You okay, Jared?
No, I don't like it.
I thought this was kind of interesting. The full-size spaceship stage used in the movie can still be found in the Australian outback mining town of Coober. Is that Coober?
Coober Patty.
There you go. Coober Petty in South Australia. It was bought by a local businessman soon after filming was completed. It sits out in the open. It is marked and can clearly be seen on Google Maps. And I think he gives tours. I thought this was pretty cool. I like to go visit locations where movies were filmed. And I did not write this one in the outline because I wanted to keep this one a little secret for the fellas. Hopefully y'all don't know this already.
Vin Diesel was also in some car movies.
No, but I'll talk about that later. According to some research I found, Vin Diesel was not originally wanted for this film. The producers had someone specific and very current at the time, but when the director found out who he was, he said, no, I'd rather not do the movie than work with that actor because, quote, he's known for being a think back to 2000s, who was still pretty big in the 2000s. Nope.
Christian Bale.
Nope.
You're a nice guy. You're a nice guy.
Y'all are a fan of his movies?
Steven Seagal.
That would be correct, sir. He was who the producers wanted to play this role.
I want to see that version. I want to see it.
I do too.
I don't know.
Gotta see
I think it would be awful, but and I love Steven Seagal, but no.
The production team's like, all right, who are we going to get for this? Well, the key is they have to be really difficult to understand when they speak. So we've got it down between Seagal and Vin Diesel.
Actually, Vin Diesel won the audition for the role. He actually auditioned, and
his big pop-up movie like this.
It is. I made a note. It was a year before Fast and Furious, and I think 2 years before XXX.
And now that we have the basics on today's contestants.
Ladies and gentlemen,
test your might.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Fight!
It's a street fight,
All right. Let's get to it now. As a reminder, you can play match game. We have 2 films, 5 categories. That means Jason and I can match up to 10 times. Place your bets. How many times are we going to match? Kathy says 7. She's holding up 7 fingers. We'll find out. And speaking of scores, here's your barometer for our show. If we land on a 5, that means it's average. It's okay. You saw it it's something you'd see on a decent made-for-TV movie. I can deal with that. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You got some good stuff. 4, 3, 2, 1. Things to work on. Having said all that, it's time to get in round 1.
What do? We die.
Round one is the story. How engaging or original did you find the story? We'll start with Equilibrium 2002 and Kathleen.
Well, it was quite the interesting story. Very intriguing concept. You know, what would the world be like without emotions? It sounds like, hey, this is a great idea. No anger, no war, no, all the negative gone. But what else would be gone? All the positive. Hope, love, joy. Is that a life any of us want to live? I don't know about that. I don't think so. But I like the way they told the story. There were some parts that annoyed me as far as the negative or the lack of emotions, because there were some scenes where Taye Diggs, or well, I should say DuPont, was that his name?
That was Taye Diggs, and sure.
No, it was the main guy, the guy that was in charge. DuPont, I think, was his name.
Robert the Bruce.
That's what I kept calling.
That's how I remember him from.
I don't want to lose heart.
We know what you mean. That's Angus McFadden, right?
But he was awfully angry.
Well,
to not have any
Kathy,
emotions.
I think he revealed that he also had not been.
Well, and that's what I was wondering, because did he say him and Taye Diggs character?
I don't know. I question mark on Taye Diggs, but I'm pretty sure that McFadden's character revealed that he was been feeling the whole time too.
Okay, I thought so. But there was some things that Taye Diggs said during the movie, like he's like, I hope you're as pleased as I am to be assigned here. I'm like, hope, and you're curious if they're pleased or not. It's like, those are emotions. Those are feelings, right? I mean, I'm sure it was just part of how difficult it was to film a movie without any kind of emotional or, words, but.
We got to let Jason weigh in too, but I've always viewed it, like I said in my synopsis, they just kind of cut off the highs and the lows. There's still some, but there's not extremes. Jason, you talk about the story of Equilibrium, and you can weigh in on your thoughts on that too.
Well, I agree with Kathy. I mean, it was an interesting premise, and I'll reflect that in my score. I think as far as action films go, this one was a bit of a thinker. There were definitely moments in there where I was really paying attention and questioning the direction of the story. And like Kathy, I started asking myself certain questions, like, there's some holes in this theory. I was curious, like, okay, about procreation. How do they determine, apparently there's still family units, right? But there's not supposed to be any emotion or love associated with those family units, and how realistic is that? I don't know. So you can kind of look at it, and if you really study it hard, find flaws. I also agree with Kathy. I thought, was it Brant, I think was the name of Taye Diggs' character. He wasn't even trying not to show emotion through a lot of that. And I think if I had to pick, one emotion that would lead to the downfall of civilization, when you study the Roman Empire like I did, it's greed and ambition. And boy, did Brant show that consistently throughout the film. So that was always nagging at my mind. So I guess it's a long-winded way of me saying I really like the premise. There are probably some holes if you dig too deep into it, but I'll give them an A for effort for an interesting plot on this one.
I'm going to agree with you both. I think Jason said too, for an action film, this says a thinker. It really does. All the way to the final scene before credits roll, which I love. I love just cracks a smile and boom, it's credits. It is so well told. Is it super original? I mean, with 1984 and all this stuff, maybe not necessarily, but it has enough originality and an excellent execution that it's going to go a long way with me. Let's switch gears into Pitch Black. I'm almost afraid to let Kathy talk about a Vin Diesel movie, but here we go. Kathy, what do you got on Pitch Black? The story, which is just a little shocker for you, Kathy. I think the story on this was pretty good, but go ahead.
I agree, but I don't know that this is the kind of movie I watch for story. I think it was very simplistic. My notes say they crash, there's monsters, they escape. Pretty simple. 1, 2, 3, right?
Hang on that. Yep, that checks out.
But I like the way they told the story. I think the only thing that was truly missing, I mean, this is not a Lord of the Rings, right? So we're not going to dive deep into every single character. But I don't know that we got the opportunity to truly care that all these people or who they were. I mean, maybe because they were all going to die anyway. But I feel like we didn't get to know truly anyone but Riddick. So I don't know that they fleshed out the side characters enough for me to say it was a completely great story.
Oh, okay, you were looking for a little more there. Okay, interesting take.
But I like the simplicity of it. It was easy to understand and not complicated like Equilibrium.
That's true. And if I'm being honest, I hadn't seen this one since it was new on DVD in like 2000, 2001. And I thought, this is a really basic movie, but I was a little impressed at some of the layers, but I don't want to take Jason's thunder. If he wants to talk about it, I bet he picked up on some of the layers that I did as well. So let's let Jason go.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting. I mean, as a sci-fi horror type of film, it did add that human element, I thought, really well. I mean, it kind of starts with the opening with our protagonist, Caroline. Her first instinct is to eject all of those human beings out of that ship to save her tail. As a watcher, as a viewer, you might be like, oh, that's awful. It does beg the question, what would I do in that situation, right? So right off the bat, you have some interesting drama. And then you have her fellow officer. There was obviously the conscience, right? Saying, no, don't you do that. It's wrong, blah, blah, blah. And then he dies right away. So now she's kind of left to grapple. She's got survivor's guilt. She knows what she did. And then you've got Riddick, the convict, and he looks scary. He's intimidating. He's intentionally intimidating people in there, and he's intimidating us as the viewer. So we don't have a whole lot of redeeming quality from him to latch onto. There's not a whole lot of sympathy. And then you've got Johns as the sheriff, right? He's got the shiny badge. He's got the gun. He looks clean cut, clean shaven, uniform all looking good. And he's the lawman, the law and order person. And then you take these characters and then you have that supporting cast, which I agree with you, Kathy. Some of them were a little more fleshed out than others, shall we say. And you throw them all into this big pressure cooker and see how they react. And I thought the story did a really nice job of subtly revealing the true intentions, the hidden demons, and the character flaws, and the redemption arc for our new captain, right? To me, there were a lot of character complexities in here that I found interesting. And I kind of knew because I'd seen it before. So I got to watch it again and just see how the actors portrayed it physically, like with their emotions, with their looks, their mannerisms. And boy, they all do a really good job. So I'm going to be pretty positive on the score for this film.
I agree. My memory of it was that it was a fairly hollow film, but redemption arc is the word you use. That is what I keyed in on. This is really her redemption from her terrified decision making, which who knows what we would have done. She didn't know those people, but by the end she does. And she changes. And it's Riddick's redemption arc a bit as well. There's a lot of redemption going on. And it was deeper than I remembered. So it will get a higher score. Jason, I'm going to make a bold statement. And I almost guarantee you're going to agree with me. As I'm watching this, I realized this is Assault on Precinct 13. It's the same movie.
Yeah, it kind of is. Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute.
There's even a shotgun.
This is the same movie, just on a different planet.
Well, that's right.
Hey, but I like that movie. So let's score these movies. Jason, let's go back to Equilibrium 2002. Scale of 1 to 10. Pretty strong story for an action flick. What do you got?
I'm going to give it an 8. Like I said, it's not flawless. If you dig down deep enough, if you allow yourself to think too much during the course of the movie, you will find flaws. But I like what they tried to do with it. I like how the actors all played off of it. Sean Bean, wow, he did a remarkable job in that limited role. Like the looks that he gave, those sideways glances when he thinks that Christian Bale's character, Preston, isn't watching him. Fantastic. The actors, I think, brought it up a notch and covered some of the potential flaws of the story. So 8 from me.
Sean Bean, sterling record of not making it to the end credits in all the movies he's ever been in.
Jeez, man, got that Boromir syndrome.
Match Game. I also gave it an 8. Same reasons. Strong story. Strong story, fun to watch. Pitch Black, 2000, Jason, 1 to 10. What you got?
I'm giving this one an 8 as well for a little bit different reasons. The plot was very basic, but I thought the redemption arc of both Riddick and the captain were both really well told. And again, we had some great actors in there with Keith David really kind of bringing that up a level. That also covers some of the flaws, and it launched maybe it's considered a B franchise, but it's still a pretty doggone good franchise in the Riddick series. So I'm going to give this an 8 as well.
All right. Close, but no match game. I gave it a 7. Cards on the table, folks. I'm not a huge fan of the whole Riddick universe or anything like that, but this one, again, surprised me with its layers, and I forgot what a good horror film it is. They kind of went from a horror film, if I remember, it's been a while since I watched it, but I feel like the next one was much more of an action beat, sci-fi action. And this was just absolutely a horror film in the vein of Assault on Precinct 13. And I thought that is a really good hook, that you have this outside scariness that causes friends to become enemies. This is all in Precinct 13. It's really good and well executed, better than I remembered. If you'd asked me going into it, I said maybe a 5 or a 6, but I'm giving it a 7. All right, Kathleen, you have 1 point to give. Are you going to go to Pitch Black and even out these scores? Or are you going to give your point to Equilibrium and let it start to take a bit of a lead?
You're making this very complicated, Jared.
Hey, it's
Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel. It's always Vin Diesel.
I feel like story-wise, Equilibrium has more to it. It's more interesting. It's engaging. It's different. Although I will say The Matrix and John Wick did it better. But I'm still going to give my sniper bullet to Equilibrium.
All right. That is the end of round 1.
It's time to die.
All right. So I will take the baton from here and we'll talk about round 2 and we'll talk about the hero. So how engaging and cool is the hero or the ensemble of heroes? And again, I think we got a film that really kind of questions hero, villain. It's a fine line in there. Kathy, why don't you tell us what you think of John Preston in Equilibrium?
Since this movie did come out after American Psycho, he definitely still has that American Psycho kind of emotionless vibe, and I think he nails it. I don't know that anyone else could have played this part as well as Christian Bale does. He just looks emotionless. I think he did a bang-up job, and I don't know that anybody else could have portrayed this as well as he did.
I agree with you. I think if you look at somebody who'd have to play the role of somebody with no emotions, he does a great job. And I think it makes it even more poignant when he feels those emotions for the first time. Good actor to play that role, but let's let Jared take it from here.
Yeah, he had to play in a certain lane. First, he had to play no emotions. Then he had to play a guy pretending he had no emotions. And y'all, that dog scene gets me every time. It's so
let's not even talk about that.
And they don't even show it. You just hear it. And you're just like, oh, God.
But what's messed up is my cats were with me. So they were like, oh yeah, shoot him again. He's still swinging.
I know. And did you notice it was the subtlety of even his like head was like twitching.
Yep,
like he was.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he picks up that dog and you see how cute that puppy
and it licks him on the nose.
Oh I mean, who can resist a Bernese Mountain Dog?
You can't let that dog go, man.
And then, on the flip side of that, you got Taye Diggs playing it right. Like, he doesn't even understand. He's like, what is this, food? Do they eat these things? Like, he doesn't. Anyways, we're talking John Preston. High marks coming from me. This character is an absolute badass. Physically, the way he plays it, the way he outsmarts them. Oh yeah, this is all trap to trap you. Oh, was it? Who's trapping who here? The way he flipped it around on Taye Diggs' character, like, oh man, that was your gun, brother.
He was so confused. He was like, wait, what?
He was like us trying to do math.
Yeah, we don't. At the end of the show, we'll do it. But yeah, kudos to Christian Bale. He plays it great. Just in those lanes, no emotions, pretending not to have emotions, doing the action, being smart, planning his next move, being a step ahead of the bad guys. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I think he does a better job in this than he does as Batman.
I won't fight you on that.
I'm not going to fight you on it either.
I mean, I like his Batman. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but this was really good.
Same. Yeah. He's not my favorite, but, I think he did a much better job in this. Or I liked his portrayal in this better than The Dark Knight.
There are a couple key scenes that I just want to highlight here before we move on. Number one is when he really watches that sunrise for the first time, how he tears through that paper, desperate to see that light. That got me. You guys nailed the dog already. The scene when he's with his friend who he shot and he feels that regret and he breaks down crying, and then he has to suck it up when the person comes into the room. And that part where he listens to Beethoven for the first time in that room.
Right. Yeah. The look on her face, because we're all music lovers. So it's like, how would we be if we did not feel the emotions that music gives us daily? That's just not a life worth living.
And he nailed it. And Jared, you hit the nail on the head. The best acting was when he had to act like he had no emotions. As an actor, I had to act like I had no emotions. Then I had to act like a person who previously had no emotions, who got emotions, and has to pretend
like a dude played a dude.
Playing another dude.
He was double dude.
All right. Well, let's go over to Pitch Black. And I guess, who are we calling the hero here? I mean, is it Riddick? I mean, this is the Riddick franchise, right? So is he the protagonist? He's the survivor. Is it the captain and her redemption arc? I'll let you guys talk about it.
Keith David, and it's always Keith David.
Yes, I know. Kathy, what are your thoughts on the hero or heroes of Pitch Black?
I won't go on all night, I promise. I wrote 3 letters down. H-O-T.
Keith David he's a stately looking gentleman, I'll tell you.
This is what started my love for Vin Diesel. I've loved this movie ever since it first came out. But
we gotta stop having girls on the show.
Excuse me, do I need to bring receipts of all the times y'all talk about the hot girls in these movies?
I don't think we do that outside of Vampirella. I don't think we do that.
Vampirella.
I guess that's probably more the Bond podcast. But anyway, I think for this to be his true first lead role starring in this movie, I think he does a phenomenal job. And I can see why the director picked him out of all the auditions. I think he did a great job. Like Jason said earlier, he's menacing, he's scary, but yet he's protective. And I know everybody, you kind of hinted at the fact, is he a villain? Is he a hero? Knowing a little more about the Riddick world, because I've watched all these movies, I don't think he ever was truly a villain. The reasons he was in prison, I don't think were because he did anything truly wrong. I haven't rewatched Chronicles of Riddick lately. I started to, but I didn't finish it. I think just his circumstances is what made him appear to possibly be a villain in this. But I think he did an amazing job. I love Vin Diesel.
I agree with you, Kathy. I mean, we're really led to believe early on that this is a evil man. And by the end of it, we're like, is he evil or is this guy just a cold, hard survivor? But let's let Jared talk about it.
I wrote down 3 letters. B-O-O, boo. No, I was kidding. All right. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to basically score Vin Diesel here. He gets a little bump from his entourage because Keith David with the bump up. I mean, and Jason talked a little about this before. This movie is interesting because of how people change. She's not a good decision maker at the beginning. She carries away that guilt. She changes and becomes a hero. He's this dark, mysterious, evil guy, and he reveals himself to be a hero. And then Keith David is this very religious man, and that's his strength. He stays the same guy, and that gets him through. So it's really neat the way they do that. So there's a bit of a bump, but unfortunately, it starts a little low. I'm not as taken with Vin Diesel as Kathy is. I really start him, and we'll get to scoring in a minute, but here's a hint. He starts at a 5 for me. Like, he's a made-for-TV action guy for me. The one thing that I will say is I just really feel like maybe it's because it was 2000, but I don't think the writers did him a lot of credit. This is one of those movies I call a try-hard film. Like, they tried so hard to give him every badass line possible that it went from badass around the circle to this is ridiculous. All right. There's certain actors that can get away with like 47 I'm a badass lines per movie, mostly Wesley Snipes. But I was just like, okay, you don't sell him on the deeds, not the words, if I can go Megaforce on you there. I felt like the writers did him a disservice because I found myself just kind of rolling my eyes. Like, okay, yeah, all right, I got it, type of deal. But he pulled it off pretty well, and we'll talk scores in a minute.
I largely agree with you, Jared. I think there were some kind of corny lines, did not know who it was effing with. That one, like, just didn't land.
Why didn't that land there? But it did when Wesley Snipes did it, Blade 2. You do not know who you are. I guess you have to shout it. That's the key.
Well, yeah. And I think the situation, attitude, there were a couple lines I really liked. One that made me laugh out loud was when they're in that cargo hold and he sees that alien and he kind of coolly blends into the dark. And then that kid comes in there and sees the alien, is like, and backs right into him. And he looks down and he says, spectacularly bad timing. I thought that was funny. But I thought one of the coolest lines was after he kills Johns and the girl starts to cry and he says, don't you cry for Johns. Don't you dare. I thought that was a poignant line, well written. But yeah, there were a couple, the rest of it was kind of ham-handed. I kind of liked the speech he gave to Keith David, the imam, when he talked about, oh, you got it all wrong. I truly believe in God, and I think he's evil, and kind of really shows his attitude towards life.
Got a lot of hate in him.
He's got a lot of hate in him. Yep. But yeah, overall, I think it's interesting because this is the first Riddick movie, and the sequels really kind of portray him almost as a anti-hero type, like almost superhero. You never really get the sense he's always the baddest guy in the room. But I felt like in this one, like Johns was a good match for him. Like physically, they were well matched, so he was a threat. So I kind of felt like you did, and I think will be reflected in the scores. And I think I've talked too much. So I think we've done them all. Let's go ahead and score them. All right, Jared, what are you going to give John Preston from Equilibrium?
Very solid 8 for me. Really liked him a lot. He did get that cut above Roger Moore. And to kill, he's getting an 8 for me. I liked it.
Match Game. I gave him an 8 as well. I thought he did a really good job. I'd forgotten how well he acted in this movie and the supporting actors around him as well, including that young man who played his son. Holy cow.
Yeah, he was good.
You fooled me. Like, if I was him, I'd be like, where have you been hiding your drug? You've been fooling me for years. All right, so let's move it on over to Pitch Black. And what did you give the score for the hero category in Pitch Black?
I ended up giving old Vin and crew a 6. Not quite Roger Moore in A View to a Kill, but, not being a big Vin guy, it's not bad for me.
I think I've been a little more generous with this movie than you. I gave it a 7. I gave it the Keith David bump.
Yeah, he's always good.
Kathy, you have a tough decision to make. You heard Jared just take a poo-poo all over your Vin Diesel. But this is your chance to get even. You can get some revenge.
Christian Bale may deserve it, but I'm giving my sniper bullet to Vin Diesel because he may not be Sylvester Stallone, or he may not be
That's correct.
Arnold Schwarzenegger with their one-liners that they have in every movie they do. But
this is my weak arm.
He's getting my sniper bullet because he deserves it.
He's getting the spider bullet. It's out of spite.
He doesn't have to explain himself to you. That bullet can go wherever she wants.
Jared gets my sniper bullet.
Man, that, I'm going to I'm going to give myself something to drink. You two work it out. Johns and Riddick style knife fighting in the middle of them. Oh, man. All right. Well, I'm going to pass it over to you, Jared, for the next category.
All right. Let's get to round 3.
Put the knife away and shut your mouth.
Round 3 is the villain. How interesting, how menacing is your villain? Both of these movies, a little thin in that area, maybe. Maybe that's just me. I won't put words in anyone's mouth, but I think it's Jason's turn to go first. What'd you think of the villain in Equilibrium?
You hinted at what I'm feeling, I think. I think this is the weakest category for me for this movie. We talked a little bit about Taye Diggs's character. Brant was his name, I believe. You know, a lot of potential there. I thought, you know, having an antagonist who has the same skills as the protagonist, we kind of thought. Maybe not so much. So it was a little disappointing, like the final boss fight there with him. I was a little disappointed in that. But mostly it was through Taye Diggs' character that I really found buying into the story the most challenging. Because like I said, it's really hard to buy into this world where you don't have emotion when your antagonist is consistently showing emotion. You would hope that your antagonist, if they're not taking this drug, I really don't know if Taye Diggs was or wasn't. Obviously, DuPont was not, but you want them to be at least as skilled as your protagonist to make this a challenging chess match. I just was not impressed by, I don't know if it was the acting or the directing of Taye Diggs, and you know, he's a fine actor. I've seen him in several other things, and he does a good job. It's not that he did a bad job here. It's just I don't think that tone was right for the film, in my opinion, and I'm going to reflect that in my score.
Yep. Kevin. I mean, you gotta love, like, they build up to this big fight and then he just gets deep sick so fast. I mean, I like the subversion of expectations. Like, when I saw it, I was like, what the hell just happened? And his face fell off. Anyway, over to Kevin.
I have a lot of question marks in my villain category. Was it DuPont, Vice Chancellor DuPont?
Yes.
Was it the system?
Yes.
Was it Taye Diggs?
Yes. And Sean Pertwee.
The big question is, are emotions the villain in this story? They want us to think, I guess, emotions are the villain of this story. Because that's supposedly what started World War III, right? At the beginning of the movie. So I just thought it was a bit too ambiguous. For my taste, it was just more just a Christian Bale show. He was just fighting against whether to have emotions or not in my book. So I guess fighting against the system.
Yep. See, that's the whole problem with the villain category here is it's just really, it's like I said before, I think it's a little thin because, you know, you got Taye Diggs and you got McFadden, and then you got, like, Sean Pertwee as the father, which I think any of us who've watched more than about 7 movies kind of knew he was not a real thing. Like, that was just a role.
Yeah.
And so there's not, like, it's weird. Like, I think another thing, Jason, and I don't think you said that kind of undercuts Taye Diggs too, is even though the last fight with him was kind of hilarious because it kind of proved that, you know, this whole time you've been thinking they're a match. They are not a match. John Preston's way more. But then McFadden gives him a much better fight. And that dude's been sitting behind a desk. He's all soft and pudgy. Like, he's no Taye Diggs. You know,
Yeah.
so you're like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, it felt unbalanced. But anyways.
We needed more equilibrium.
Yes. So, yeah, I agree with you, Jason. It's the weakest. It's got the weakest score of all of them, but we'll get to scoring in a minute. Let's shift gears to Pitch Black. And I guess talk about big night bugs. I'm talking about big night bugs. It's all you, Jason.
Yeah, I guess it's big night bugs, and I kind of settled on the character of Johns, really. I guess the interesting thing about him is the way that they set him up as kind of the heroic figure at the beginning and then kind of break him down throughout the beats of the story. I thought that part was done really well. I think it's Cole Hauser was the actor that played him very well. You know, I'll reflect that in my score. I think the bugs, you know, they're a bug, not a feature. Well, I thought they were kind of cool design and scary and ferocious, but they were kind of the backdrop, kind of like the zombies are and like The Walking Dead. You know, it's like it's really about the characters and what they do, and the zombies are just kind of like to agitate. The monsters are there to agitate and to move you along, and they do a good job there. So yeah, I think all in all, solid score here. I mean, are they Max Zorin from A View to a Kill?
It's a straight up 10 right there.
That's right. So, yeah, I think this is probably, again, going to be my weakest area for this film.
All right, Kathy, what did you think about the night bugs and the human villainy, perhaps?
Yeah, I did actually did put down strangers, ? Because could that be kind of considered the antagonist in this? You know, all these new people. But no, I thought the creatures were done very well, especially the scene where he, lights the alcohol on fire and you see them all trying to scare the crap out of me every time. And they're so fast. There's so many different ages, I guess. Like, the ones that are in the drilling room, like those are the infant ones. Those are the ones that kill Claudia Black's character, splits her in half, pulls her apart. Those are all the little babies. And one thing that was part of the commentary I saw, the scene where Vin Diesel and Claudia Black are in the little ravine when all the small little creatures are going through. And he's laying there with his back on the ground. He actually, in that scene, he's got some kind of knife in his hand and he holds it up while those creatures are going by. And apparently they destroyed the knife. He was kind of testing to see how dangerous they were, but they kind of edited that out. And then Cole Hauser, I think, does great in this. A small connection with the two. They are both in Fast and Furious movies. Cole Hauser is in Too Fast and Too Furious, so they have a little connection with that. But I think he does good. He's very good at being the bad guy. I mean, that's simple and to the point. And I think him and Vin play very well against each other. They both got their baggage. I think he does a good job.
Again, it's like the last movie. It's a little thin. It's bugs. And then, like you said, how people react to this life and death stress situation. I mean, Jason and I can both attest to guys we knew, quote unquote, stateside that were great soldiers, and then when it gets real, they may not be the same guy anymore. Or you see the guy or gal who's mousy stateside, and they become an absolute warrior. You just don't know. You don't know till the firefight starts. So definitely an interesting character study in people and night bugs. So there you go. But anyways, you know what we need to do now? We need to score them. So let's double back to Equilibrium 2002. Kind of a myriad of villainy. Jason, what'd you land on 1 to 10?
I landed on a 6 for this one. I think, like I said, kind of the weakest element of this film. And yeah, 6 for me.
Match game number 3. I also have it as a 6. Let's shift gears and go to Pitch Black 2000, 1 to 10.
Well, I know I said it was the weakest element in here, but I still think it's a little bit better than Equilibrium. I think the monsters do a really good job, and I think Cole Hauser did a really good job of peeling back the onion to reveal that villainy. So I'll give that one a 7.
And your fraction of a love shines once more because I gave it a 6 as well. Kathy, it's time for a sniper bullet to which one you thought had the better villainy. And I'm also going to need you to tell me where I've seen that girl who played the captain before, because I know I've seen her in something, but it's driving me nuts. I can't remember.
Silent Hill.
Thank you. That'll be all. All right.
That's the only other one I know her from.
No, that's it. You nailed it. All right. So, Kathy, where's your sniper bullet going?
It is going to go to Cole Hauser and the creatures of the night in Pitch Black. I agree with Jason. It's better than the ones that we have in Equilibrium.
All right. You heard it right there from Kathy. That's the end of round 3. Let's move to round 4.
Nobody's bitch.
So what makes an action film different from any other film? Well, it's the spectacle. And we're going to talk about the overall spectacle. How visually engaging is this film overall? And we're talking stunts, effects, action sequences, cinematography, music, soundtrack, or score. Jared, what did you think about the overall spectacle for Equilibrium?
Oh, man. Well, it had quite a bit, Jason. It's a very engaging movie. It's filmed well. I love, the gray tones, the drabness of the no highs and lows society. So when they do find stuff like the paintings or the music, the record player, it just leaps out at you like boom, And they go to the McFadden's character's office and it's all ornate and stuff. It's like, what the what? This doesn't belong here, So it's got a lot of visual spectacle that way. The action spectacle, we're going to get to the action scene, but I mean, it's one of those movies you watch over and over again for these cool action scenes. So you got that going on. The music was good. it's really not noticeable, which is kind of what you want in a movie that doesn't focus on music a lot. Like, so when we heard Beethoven, we heard Beethoven. And then I think really the only next time I really notice the music is at the end when society is breaking down and it swells to that crack of a smile and then it goes. It's used perfectly there. So yeah, visually great, action scenes great, music not super memorable, but that's a strength in this case. So yeah, big scores are coming from Jared.
Yeah, no, I agree 110%. I did not know that it was filmed in Berlin until Kathy revealed the trivia. And that's a perfect choice for this because you do have that East meets West vibe of that city, the old kind of Baroque and Weimar Republic Germany, and then the communist Germany that came up after World War II. That's perfect setup, man. Brilliant. But at any rate, let's let Kathy talk about it. What did you think of the overall spectacle for Equilibrium, Kathy?
I agree with you guys. It was very visually appealing, even though it was very muted as far as colors and, it's a lot of black, a lot of gray. I still enjoy it. Gave us the atmosphere that they wanted it to. Like, it felt cold. It felt emotionless, even down to the all white Cadillac Sevilles that they had. Looked pretty cool. Side note, is there was no technology in this movie that was not already, like, there was no like guessing at what futuristic technology. They did that on purpose so it wouldn't date itself. But I think my favorite visual moment, it's very, very small, but it's when Brent drops Preston off at home and it's those stairs, circular stairs that he's having to walk. It created such a beautiful picture to me. I liked it visually. I thought it was done very well.
Yeah, I agree. Lots of interesting visual cues in this film. I mean, even the red of that scrap of cloth that he takes from the evidence kit, just visually very engaging, and the action sequences are very good. I could use without that late 90s, early 2000s with the whoosh sound effects.
Did y'all notice? I'm wondering if anybody noticed it without seeing it in the trivia on there. It was the first shooting scene where he's in the dark and all you see is kind of the flashes from the guns. Did you notice that some of them had the logo? I think if you like freeze frame some of those flashes coming from the guns, the logo kind of appears.
Yeah, I did notice
like
that.
All the T's and the like cross shape or whatever. Okay. I didn't know if anybody would see it with their naked eye unless you're looking for it. So
I did see it jump out a couple times. All right. Well, let's roll over and talk about the overall spectacle for Pitch Black, and I'll pitch it back to you, Jared.
So let's talk positive, first of all. For an early 2000s movie that relies a lot on CGI, did a good job with it. It's a cut above other CGI features of the era. So it definitely gets that. My biggest problem with Pitch Black is this could very much be a Jared problem. I had a hard time tuning into it. You know how we talk about the big part of spectacle is not checking. When I was checking my phone, I had to remind myself, hey, I got to watch this for Action Film Face Off. For a horror movie, you think it'd have more gripping beats. And I will admit, I did tune in like probably second half a lot more tuned in. Like when it gets dark, I think I was a bit more tuned in, but something about it just didn't grab me and make me want to watch it as much. It was still fine. And, I did notice they used a fair amount of different filters for the times of day that were very striking. So it's all competently done. There's nothing wrong with it. It just, for some reason, didn't get its hooks into me till the poop hit the oscillating fan, if you will. But that's what I got.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think one of the things that puzzled me about this upon the rewatch, because I'd forgotten a lot of the plot points, it's like to build tension. I remembered that, okay, it's got to get pitch black. It's in the title, but they landed on a planet that literally has 3 suns and never sees sunset. So I spent a lot of my time trying to remember how they got to this point. So that was occupying some of my headspace.
Maybe that's what it was too for me. Like maybe I paid attention better the first time around, and this time I kind of mailed it. That could be it.
Yeah, I think it would have been actually more interesting to have it getting just darker naturally and things starting to escalate the later it got. I guess what it boils down to is the pacing. What I'm trying to say is I agree with you. Pacing was a little bit off. Second half of the movie, a lot more frantic than the first.
Yeah.
All right. Kathy, your turn. What did you think of the overall spectacle of Pitch Black?
I disagree just a little bit with the pacing part, is because I love one of my favorite scenes, and actually one of the director's favorite scenes, is the eclipse scene. It was absolutely gorgeous. That planet, I didn't notice it the first 10 times I've seen this movie. The rings around the planet that's causing the eclipse, they're going in opposite directions. One ring's going clockwise, the other one's going counterclockwise. I just thought that was a beautiful scene. Like Jared said, they did use a lot of filters, but they also, apparently to the chagrin of the producers of the movie, they actually used a bleaching effect on the actual film itself.
Oh.
Which is scary because you damage it, you do too much, do too little, you've lost all that coverage.
Mm-hmm.
But I liked it because technically this was a black and white movie. I mean, because even when the sun's up, it's still it's so saturated, I guess is the right term for it being that bright. And maybe just I've seen this movie a lot more times than y'all, so it's why I like it so much.
I guess yes.
Roll. We're going to roll with yes on that.
And I love the spectacle of the creatures. I love the shot when they're taken off from the planet and they're going through those rings of the planet. That
did look good.
That did look tight.
So I just liked it. I liked the weird little things. They call it, I think, the snake dance when Vin and the creature, and y'all probably laughed at this and thought it was so cheesy, when he's messing with the creature's blind spot.
All I could think was Michael Jackson's Beat It. When the two guys are they tie their wrists together. Anyway, play the song during that scene and you'll get it.
No, I get it. I know exactly what you're
I didn't think it was dumb though, because like they foreshadowed it because he was like a blind spot, and I was like, oh, all right, we'll see when this comes into play.
Yeah,
and he did such a good job at it till the second one showed up.
Man, yeah, I know, mean, right? It was a good actor there. I mean, it was really, good acting, really well done. And Vin Diesel did all right too in that.
Just talk about the computer bug. Well, you think about it, he had it. All right, now Jason made a joke, but it made me think he did a pretty good job because there was nothing there, right? He's doing that to air. They put it back.
I mean, his movements, in all seriousness, I just try and get under Kathy's skin. But I thought that scene was actually really well done. The way that Riddick moves in that, it's like a snake dance. It's like animalistic. And he's definitely in sync with the creature. So I thought it was really well done.
The one question I have about this movie is, when the creatures are after them, they're after them. But there's parts like when they get to the skiff at the end, where are they? Like, why are they not like, there's thousands of these things. Why is that not the only thing they're focused on? Is this human meat, Like I feel like
there more lighting around that? Was the light protecting them?
And probably, which
that's my guess.
That's another little bugaboo sometimes about how little light that frightens them off.
Yeah, I looked at it as there was the light there. And then also that the creatures had gotten to this point where they were eating each other. And so it was like a shark frenzy.
Right. I thought that scene was pretty cool.
Well, I'm interested to see where Kathy's sniper bullet goes on this one. She was really high marks on both of these films. But before we get to that, Jared and I are going to have to score them. So, Jared, what are you going to give the score for spectacle in Equilibrium?
Give it a 9. I liked it quite a bit. This is a movie that I originally picked up off the previously viewed DVD shelf back in the day. Didn't expect anything of it. Popped it in and found out this is one of the most rewatchable movies I've ever seen. So it's a 9.
I gave it an 8. Not quite as in love with it as you, but definitely an elite level category as far as spectacle's concerned. So 8 for me. Let's roll it over to Pitch Black. What did you give the spectacle for Pitch Black? Didn't seem like this one held your attention quite as much.
It didn't, but I mean, it's still going to break through the made-for-TV barrier. I gave it a solid 6, so I predict you will give it a 7.
You predict correctly, sir. That's exactly what I gave it.
And every time you've been 1 point higher than me on that movie. I guess it's just, I like it. I like it just fine. And again, I do want to, even though I gave it a 6, I do want to give it kudos because we've seen a lot of these early 2000 CGI movies, and this is one of the better ones.
Yeah, this is one of the better ones, no doubt. So, big reveal. Kathy, who's getting your sniper bullet?
My heart says one thing, my head says another. I think because it had to use more CGI, so I feel like had to do a little more than just acting and location. I think I'm going to give it to Pitch Black.
Vin Diesel.
I'm shocked by this decision. Shocked, I tell you.
The game is rigged. Let's pass it over to Jared and take it away and see what gets the best action scene.
All right, let's do round 5.
They mostly come at night. Mostly.
Round 5 is best action scene. Let's just take a look at these. Jason, what were the major action scenes that you plucked out of Equilibrium?
All right, sir. I'm going to go with the opening scene. Or as I call it, knock, knock. Who's there? Your ass whooping.
On time delivery.
And then I call it the hidden room raid. It's the one where Tay Diggs has the rifle and he's going through and where he finds the hidden room. He finds it and he's going like he's touching everything. It's a good thing you didn't find any smut because that could have got real awkward real fast. And then there's the one where the cops find his dog in the trunk of his car. And I called that one, you mess with my dog, I'll make you my
Jason's got to make me bleep at least once an episode.
Then I called it the raid rescue or attempted rescue when they go through the raid and he tries to lead the team out. It's not really a title. It was an epiphany that came to me during that scene. I'm not dying for any Daniel Craig 007 movies. I'm getting rid of those. Now they can kill me for Sean Connery, for Roger Moore, Pierce Brosnan, T. Dalton, no doubt. I'm not dying for Daniel Craig. No, sir. Just going to leave it right there. Then the final battle, and I had two. I'll let you choose. It kind of depends on the mood you're in. I call it Final Face-Off for obvious reasons.
Nice, yes.
Or I probably shouldn't have worn white to this.
Oh, that's good.
My favorite part of that is like he fights the baddest of the bad guys and all that, and not a scratch job. Whoever those guys were in the elevator are the baddest dudes in the whole movie aside from Preston, because he's got the blood coming down. I'm like, somebody in the elevator got a hit on him.
Oh yeah.
Somebody actually hit him in the elevator.
I didn't even see who hit him. I was like, what?
He just comes down, the door's open, and he's got blood. It doesn't show the scene.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, some dead guy in there actually got
that's right. Yeah, the bodies just pop out. And then
it's like, some dead guy in there actually got a hit on him. But anyways, okay. Which one was your favorite? Kathy, which action scene was your favorite in this one?
I don't remember what you named it. The one where he's leading the people out, but he's trying to help them escape.
I'm not dying for any Daniel Craig 007 movies.
Yes, correct. Yes, I really like that one.
Man, that was a good scene too. Like, just good acting between the two guys, because the guy was like, "Man, you tried as hard as you could," and he was like, "Man, I'm so sorry I couldn't save you." And they did all that with just like 2 glances.
I know. And when he walks past that glass wall, and you could see the outlines of the bodies falling.
Ooh, good stuff. Powerful movie. Jason, what action scene did you pick?
I'm going to go with Final Battle. I got some flaws in it, but man, there were swords, there were guns. There was a gun splat fight. I mean, there's just a lot of crazy stuff. I like that Final Battle.
I'm torn between Final Battle and the dog scene, fighting for the dog. I was like, he killed like 20 people to save a dog, and then he couldn't save any people. Like, man, you got to be a 4-footed friend to make it out of this movie, man.
He could have picked up one of those dudes and had him lick his face.
His face, yeah. Who knows what would have happened? But I'll go with the dog scene just for variety. I like the end scene just as much, to be honest with you. But just for variety, I'll say man, that was really cool, especially when the guns became blunt instruments and they had like the little pop out spikes so he could shatter the helmet and all. That was cool.
That was really cool.
I thought that was in the one that was in
they
were escaping.
Was it? I thought he did it in the dog scene. My bad. Well,
no, he just shot everybody in the dogs and he popped those things out, which I didn't understand. We'll get to that, and we'll get to that in the deduction round. I might have some points I need to take off, but we'll air out our grievances.
There'll be no points taken off for Equilibrium. But anyways,
we'll see.
We've all picked our favorite scenes from that movie, so let's go to Pitch Black and pick our favorites from that.
There were a lot in this one. There's the crash, which I call women drivers, no survivors.
We are going to get contact at Longbox Crusade, ladies and gentlemen. Send your hate-filled emails. Attention to
I'm going to go. I don't know. I'm going to go be seeing Laurel after this one. And then I counted the tunnel when she goes into the tunnel when they first encounter, when she's looking for Zeke. I think it was his name. I called that one, Did You Find Zeke? And I said, only about a foot of him.
I don't think you're gonna have anyone better tonight than that one. That was
all right.
We'll see though. There's more.
And then there's the well when the little baby ones were flying around in that building, and they go into that well and they kill that dude. I called that one Down the Hola Monsterola. And then
he drinks a lot when he does things.
I do. Yeah, I'm getting progressively more drunk as I'm doing this. Okay, so then when night falls and Claudia Black dies and they all have to go, I kind of counted that whole thing where they have to go back into the wreckage of the ship and kind of make their way around. I called that one, Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me.
Classic.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So then the run where they put everything on the sled, the power cells, and they're trying to drag it across the desert. I called that one, You Got to Move Faster Than the Speed of Night, Bonnie Tyler. Classic, right? And then there's a Riddick and Johns fight.
It's the one
and I called that one Lights Out for Johns. And then there's the Run Part 2 and the Escape. And I call that Throw Another Monster on the Barbie.
Okay.
Oh, that's good.
There's a lot to choose from. I'm picking the Johns fight. Kathy nodded her head when I said something about
John's fight.
Yeah. Jason, you like the Johns fight, or are you going to mix it up a bit?
I did like the Johns fight, but I'm going to mix it up a bit. I like the early part of the run with You Got to Move Faster Than the Speed of Night for that very scene that Kathy talked about where the antiques dealer, like he says, I thought I'd die in Paris. And then he blows and all those monsters around him.
Yeah, I was going to say, if there was an absolute favorite scene, then that's my favorite scene. That, and I love when Riddick crests that valley and it's like it shows him from the front and he's just all in black shadow and you just see the creatures behind him. I love that, that shot too.
Yeah.
So do you think they picked Paris because it's a fanciful city that we all romanticize, or because it's known as the city of light? Deep thoughts, Jared.
Wow. Good question. I like it.
Okay,
anyway.
Jack Handy.
Let's go back and score them. Jason, favorite action scene in Equilibrium was the climax, the big fight at the end. You gave it a 9 or a 10?
I gave it an 8. I thought
Son of a
I thought it was good, like a lot of the other ones. I think it's a great scene. It's my favorite of them, but overall, I'm not going to give it more than an 8 for reasons that we'll get into in the deduction round.
Well, you could have picked a couple different scenes from this movie, and it would have stopped me from giving it a 10.
Flawless victory.
It's a 10. Jared went full 10 because not only was it kinetic and fun to watch, it was something I'd never seen before. The whole gun fu thing, I gave it mad creativity points. Jared caps it out at a 10. Meow, 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 meow. All right, let's go over to Pitch Black. Jason, you picked the first run and 1 to 10.
Had to double check, but yeah, I ran straight 7s on this film. I gave it a 7 as well.
Big surprise, we're 1 off again.
Oh, wow.
I liked the fight with John, but I thought it was a cut above a good made-for-TV movie, so I gave it a 6.
You know what's interesting is that you've liked, I think, Equilibrium a little more than me, and I've liked Pitch Black a little more than you. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking Kathy scores might have some weight today.
I'm starting to wonder myself, but let's find out where that final bullet's going to go. Kathy, which movie had better action scenes?
I will say again, comparing this to The Matrix, it should not get the sniper bullet because The Matrix did this movie so much better, but I've got to give it to Equilibrium. I'm sorry, Vin. I love you and I love Pitch Black. I have watched this movie so many times. I'm sorry.
Right now, Vin Diesel's dial is 707-532-5269. He's like,
I wish he would.
This is a bag of bullshit right here.
I'll give him my address. He can come here and talk to me about it.
Complain to you in person.
That is it for round 5.
I'm gonna kill you now!
All right, I'm going to pick it up. I've dropped hints that this might be coming. I've got some potential candidates for the deduction round, which, as folks who listen to the show know, this is the round for the ridiculous, where we take off the point, or 2 or 3 or up to 10 for whichever movie we think had some flaws in it. And I've got a grievance, but Jared, I'll yield the floor to you to see if you have anything to throw out before I start pleading my case.
No, not on either movie. No, nothing particularly egregious stood out to me. I'm interested to see how you're going to crush my hopes and dreams for Equilibrium on this one.
I've got 2 things, and I can be talked off the ledge on either one of these by either one of you. I want to know, when he's helping those people escape, and he decides to go use the butt of the gun to beat the crap out of the cops instead of shooting them, as he's trained to do, how he expected to get away with this? They saw him. Who beat the shit out of you? John Preston, who let these guys escape.
I can't back this up with paperwork. And maybe I should have paid closer attention to the movie, but I always was under the impression that he popped those little things specifically to break the glass, thereby making them easier to shoot and kill, like to get that body armor out of the way. But I don't know that he ever actually shot him. So.
I don't think he ever shot a bullet. And I think the point was, like, I'm not going to shoot these because these are innocent people. You know, they're my boys. But he shot those cops that mess with his dog with no problem.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
So I'm thinking they just wanted to show some cool stuff. But it's like, it just doesn't make sense to me, because not all these people are going to be dead and you are going to be screwed. So I'm going to take one off because I have not been convinced. Point number 2, final battle scene. When they go through and he's got the sword and he has to turn the sword over. And then all of a sudden he's got guns in his hand. Like, they run all these security protocols on him and they didn't have him turn in his guns. Like, how tight was this security? They're like, give me your weapon. And he hands him a sword. But he's packing two pistols. This seemed very contrived to me. But that's all I got. That's my only grievance. And Jared, you got nothing. Kathy, why don't we go ahead and, you don't get to take a point off, but is there anything chewing at your craw right now?
I think I kind of said it in the story round. It was just when I would see Taye Diggs using words that emote feelings of some sort.
And that's the end of all the official rounds. All right, don't worry if you haven't been keeping up with the math at home, folks. We do that for you here at Action Film Face Off. And for those of you who were doing match game, man, we came awfully close a bunch of times, but it ended up only being 3 match games. Just 3 on this one. Sniper points. Kathy gave 3 of her rather biased sniper bullets to Pitch Black and 2 to Equilibrium. And looking at the judges' scorecards, the winner of this episode of Action Film Face Off, with a score of 79 to 70, is Equilibrium.
Nice. All right. Well, congratulations to Equilibrium. Now let's head over to the randomizer and find out what the years are going to be for our next episode. My brother Jared will be pulling a film from
Choose Your Destiny.
2004. And I will bring a film from
Choose Your Destiny.
1978. Oh, it's going to be gritty. It's going to be cops. And it's going to be cops doing some shady stuff. And, oh, man, there'll be some streets in New York. It'll be awesome. Well, what will those films be? We'll tease them on social media for those of you who want to watch before listening, and we're thinking of you, Dave. Or you can tune in next episode and find out. Until then, I'm Jason Weasel Skull Albrecht, and you can find me on social media at Jason Albrecht on Instagram and on Threads.
And you can find me, Jared Albrecht, the Yard Sale Artist, a.k.a. Death Probe, at Yard Sale Artist on X, Facebook, and Instagram. You can check out my artwares at www.theyardsaleartist.com. Kathleen!
I can be found on all social media at AUKathy2418, and that's Kathy with a K.
Be sure to check out all the shows under the Longbox Crusade umbrella by subscribing to Longbox Crusade on all those finer podcatchers or on YouTube, or you can check us out at www.longboxcrusade.com. If you'd like to send us a question or a comment, you can do that by hitting us up on social media. That is also Longbox Crusade on X, Facebook, and Instagram, and on YouTube. We also have a special account over on X at AFFO Podcast. If you want to get with us slightly more directly, it's up to you. And if you want to get direct like 1987 direct, you can give us a phone call, leave a voicemail. 707-532-5269, 707-532-LBOX.
Pick up the phone.
Pick up the phone.
I heard a Vin Diesel in there, too. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you listening. Until next episode, keep your head down, Jason.
And your knuckles up.
The intro and outro theme to this show and all of our Action Film Face-Off shows are done by musical genius Joe November. Check out his SoundCloud at JOSEFLIN99. You will not regret it.
Some equilibrium.
It's about balance it out.
Oh, I already used that one. Damn it.
Something.
Should have waited. Spreadsheet still counting on you.
Get it together, Kathy, and say Steve Cronin. Don't encourage him.
Making me crack up now. This is what happens. I mean, he's made like 3 more Riddick movies, and then there have been shorts and video games, and he's made some money off of it.
And from my understanding, him and Tui are in talks for a 4th with both of them back, because I know they did Chronicles of Riddick. They did an animated one that I don't think I've ever seen.
Fury?
Yeah, I've got it. Yeah, Dark Fury.
Yeah. And I think this one's called, I want to say it's called Führer, but that doesn't make sense. Furin, maybe? Like it looked like it was Furyn. So I think that's what they're in talks to have a 4th maybe. But
yeah,
anyway.
It's ridiculous.
I thought I could get away with just cutting it all out, but now I got to put it in the outtakes for it. Thanks so much, Jason.
Sorry about that. All right. Let's get to some scoring.
The Purvis and Wade theory.
And then the laser's gonna...
He's gonna look like RoboCop.
The laser's gonna... And he's gonna shock him. He's gonna shock him a lot. Hey,
jokes for just me and Jason.
I wasn't.
What's that?
I didn't climax during the movie. I don't know about you, but I was making a joke.
I don't... Jason.
I'm not gonna tell you until you tell me what the score currently is.
I don't do the math until you it happens after you reveal this. And we got a deduction round. I still got to do deduction round stuff.
I need to have a clause that I can change any of my sniper bullets before the results are tabulated.
I'll tell you what, you can absolutely have that clause as the editor of this show. It's gonna be what it's gonna be, but
I hate you.
She's gonna blow him away.
You're supposed to let me finish it off.
And Jared, I want you to know that you are not a weirdo.